Hello and welcome to Sideways. This week we're talking about rumination and the way in which constantly turning situations and fears over in your mind is both pointless and hugely debilitating. We reminisce about our days playing in rock bands and the occasions on which our craft was not fully appreciated, while I seek Martin's advice regarding how villains make arrangements for their luggage. There's also a cautionary tale about a cactus and how it's rarely a good idea to try and catch one. Tuning in to Shit FM.
Good morning to you.
Good morning. It's a nice coloured hoodie you've got on.
Well, I was just thinking about the nice background you've got on there, nice picture over the doggies out in the fields. Yeah, very nice.
I don't know where that is. It might be White Horse, looking at it.
It looks very nice. Anyway, whatever. How are you? Anyway, are you good?
I'm all right, thanks. How are you?
I'm all right as it goes. Thank you.
I was a bit disturbed that you weren't going to the farmer's market this morning.
Yeah, I haven't been for a few months, actually.
What's happened there, then? Have you fallen out? Did you fall out with a coffee woman?
No,
Has she ground your beans?
I had too much in the cupboard. I couldn't keep... and when I went there, I felt sort of compelled to buy something from her. So
perhaps you should have addressed that discomfort and just kind of stepped through it.
Yeah, I should have done, really. I just avoided it.
You could have gone to the farmer's market, gone round to all the stalls that you usually buy from, and said to them, "I'm not buying anything from you today."
That would have been a waste of time for me. But I'd probably go again, perhaps next month.
Perhaps it's a seasonal thing for you.
Yeah, perhaps it is. I do prefer it. I don't like going out when it's a bit cold and stuff. Well, that's not too bad. I expect you've been out this morning. It's quite nice, isn't it?
I have. It's very nice. Perhaps you eat more apples and drink more coffee during the warmer months.
I don't tend to, no. It tends to be during the colder months, but there we go. I don't want to run over your theory, but it's just how I feel on the day, mate, to be honest. Didn't fancy it today.
Fair enough.
Anyway, welcome to season 7.
Oh, crikey. Wow.
Start of season 7, yeah.
Who'd have believed it?
Who would have known? But this was your idea, I think, initially, to do one on rumination.
Right.
I think it's a word you come up with. I think we've significantly sort of lowered the tone, because on my notes I've put rumination in brackets. I've got shit FM, which I'll come on to. I'll explain that a little bit later on. It sort of reminded me back in the time when we were, you remember this well, when we were budding rock stars back in the 80s. And when Charles, their drummer, bought this lovely little love song that he'd written along to rehearsals. Do you remember this? And we sort of bastardised it by changing the lyrics to make it a song about, it was called Giving Head. So
it wasn't originally called Giving Head, was it?
No, it wasn't, no. We changed it.
What was it originally called? Giving Love, wasn't it?
Giving Love or something like that. And it didn't really fit, did it? So Giving Head seemed to be...
Yeah, it fitted perfectly. We just decided to bastardise it.
Oh, no, it's great.
You did, I expect. I think you did.
I think I probably did. Well, I remember taking it a stage further, really, when we played it live. Do you remember I used a sort of polystyrene mannequin's head?
I do. And it doesn't leave much of the imagination, does it?
No, it simulated the act on stage. And it was... I remember it was fun doing it, but do you remember we got thrown out of, I think it was the Cartoon at Croydon, where we played a gig there, and they just said, "Don't come back."
I didn't remember that, actually. I'd forgotten that.
Yeah.
Why did they say that? Was it because you were so bad, or because they didn't like your polystyrene head?
Well, I put it down to your terrible guitar playing, but on reflection, it was because she said, "I think you really need to play punkier venues with acts like that."
Oh, okay. So we weren't suitable.
I think they wanted a more family orientated group, and we certainly weren't that. I think I wanted more of a Barry Manilow tribute. We were
actually, now he's coming back to me a little bit now, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we might have played there at a lunchtime.
We did play at a lunchtime. It was almost like an audition.
We weren't a lunchtime, really. We weren't. Band, were we? No. Unless you've been up all morning and necking alcohol, we probably weren't the band you wanted to see at lunchtime.
No, we weren't. No, we didn't fit. But I was sort of proud of getting thrown out of a venue. I thought it added to our kudos.
Well, when I probably told you this story before, but in a band I was in after that band, we were booked to play a working men's club in Ashford. Oh, right. And we were asked to stop playing after 7 minutes. because what do they call them? Stewards, don't they?
Yeah.
Clubs.
Yeah.
He said, we've got people walking out of here tonight who've been coming in here every night for 20 years. And actually, he was quite apologetic because it was just a total mismatch.
Yeah.
They didn't want us at all.
No.
And so we got paid in full, and we were back in the pub in Maidstone by about 8:30. That's just perfect. Obviously, we didn't go back there, play there again. Yeah, that's interesting. So it's not. So there's been multiple times we've been kicked out of venues.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't feel too bad about that. Usually that's the sort of thing that I'd ruminate on.
You would, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I think we ruminated on it for it was a very short-term rumination. I think, well. Anyway, before we start, we had a lot of kind words about last week's episode.
Have we? I haven't had any.
Yeah, I've had some messages, and apparently they're quite thought-provoking. Oh. And so it's quite a serious one last week. But yeah.
Well, is that where we change all that this week, I expect?
Well, I think so. But another quick shout out to my sister-in-law's nephew, Michael Thomas. He's my brother told me that he's a regular listener. I haven't seen him for some time, but anyway, nice. We'll move on to rumination, shall we?
Well, wait a minute. I've got something I want to ask you because this is something that's been worrying me. I was watching The Gold on telly the other day, which is about the Brinksmat robbery.
It is, yeah.
And during watching that, I had a thought, which is a recurring thought. I wouldn't call it a rumination, but it is a recurring thought. Whenever I see it on television, I always have this question comes up in my mind. I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll ask Martin what he thinks. You know, when there's been some sort of criminal activity and thieves meet together either in a secluded car park or an abandoned warehouse to exchange cash. Yeah. And they put it in a holdall. It used to be a briefcase. Yeah. But these days it's usually quite can be quite a nice holdall. Yeah. Right? I always think, who pays for the holdall? Do they take it off the money that's owed? Or is it returned? Or do you just put it down to, you just think, well, I'll have to give them the holdall free. What do you think happens?
I think you put it down on expenses, I suppose, don't you?
Yeah, but who do you claim it back from?
From the robbers.
Oh, right. So if I owed you £100,000 and the holdall was 50 quid.
Yeah, you put that on top.
I'd put it on top.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Good.
I remember seeing on the news when they arrested the people. Do you remember at Hatton Garden? There was a big robbery not that many years ago. Yeah. And they were carrying around like millions of pounds worth of stuff in black sacks. So they didn't stretch to a holdall.
They should have gone for the holdall. Because if you see someone carrying around stuff in black sacks, that is going to arouse suspicion, isn't it?
I don't know. Would it be more than a holdall?
If I saw someone walking up the road with a black sack, I would think that's more suspicious than someone with a holdall. Because I think, well, why are you walking around with a black sack? Why not put it in a bin?
Well, they got caught, so they didn't think it through. They needed you on the team. You could have sorted that one out, couldn't you?
They did. If anyone's thinking of a big job like that in the future,
you're the man. I'm the
man to help you with your planning. All right, good, thanks.
Anyway, okay. Well, I'm glad we cleared that up. Should we go on to? We're going to the on the subject matters. We'll quick look at the definition of rumination.
Lovely.
Because I used to think, and I suspect a lot of people did, that rumination just meant taking time to think about things before making a decision, which to a certain extent is, but it's much more than that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I didn't realise really until I started to do the research on this, because rumination is sometimes referred to as a silent mental health problem. Mm-hmm. Because of its impact is often underestimated. And basically it's defined as excessive repetitive thinking about the same event. Yeah. And it's sort of split it into two there. It's often either negative thoughts focusing on the past or anxious thoughts that focus on the future. But often you tend to be focusing on, certainly with us that are in recovery from addiction, we can ruminate long and hard about the past, things we've done and the bad decisions we've made.
People often talk about overthinking as if it's the same as rumination. But I think, if you overthink something, quite often what it means is that you're thinking too much about something before a decision. So if you're trying to decide which new fridge to buy, you might be overthinking it. You might do too much research, think about it for too long, kind of waste time and emotional energy. and then eventually you make a decision. But rumination tends to be circular, goes round and round and round and round. And as you just pointed out, it tends to be about things you can't influence. You know, you'll ruminate on something that's happened in the past, maybe something you've done to someone or a conversation you had. There's nothing you can do about that. It's gone. And of course, the other, as you said, the other thing that people ruminate on is the future that hasn't arrived yet. You don't know what's going to happen.
I mean, this gets brought up in groups all the time, and it's where the term "shit FM" came from. I remember someone using it, and they probably heard it from someone else. But it tends to be used quite freely in the recovery community when that constant noise is in your head, and it's when your thoughts have no off button. Basically, it's like having the radio stuck on shit FM, and you can't turn it off.
Because you want to stop thinking about whatever it is you're thinking about, but you can't.
No, you can't, and that's where drink and drugs come in at that point often.
Because they prevent you having to think about it. Yeah,
it's self-medication to quell those thoughts, which again becomes circular because you need to drink more and take more drugs to stop those thoughts coming in. And when it wears off, you need more, and you scale up the amount that you need to quell those thoughts. So it's a nasty thing to happen.
Yeah, I imagine then the more that you're drinking, and the more conscious you become of your destructive relationship with drink or drugs, the more you have to ruminate on.
You do.
Because then you'll presumably start thinking about all the things you haven't done or the ways in which you've lied to people or let them down. So the thing that you've turned to in order to stop your rumination is the thing that's actually going to increase it.
I know, yeah.
So what did you used to ruminate on when you were in active addiction? Do you remember?
I do, yeah. It used to be mainly it was about the people that had dropped out of my life by my own volition. And so the broken relationships I had certainly with my family, my daughters, and friends. You know, people like you. I didn't see you for a long time, did I? And
about a decade.
Yeah. It was, and I was just lost in this wilderness. Yeah. And you have a lot of time to ruminate then, and it's all negative stuff. Yeah. There's nothing good is going on in your head at that time.
So does that tend to be so when you as you said, you will have seen this a lot in group. Do they tend to be the same sorts of subjects that people ruminate on in addiction? That they're kind of thinking about the impact that their addiction has had on their lives and the people in their lives.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's what they're turning around all the time.
Very much, and it is. It's a very, very common. It's a very common theme because there's people you hold very dear to you that you don't. That you just don't. It's not that you don't care about them anymore. It's just that you don't have the wherewithal to maintain a relationship with them.
So it must also be one of the things that's quite difficult about going into recovery, because when you go into recovery, you won't suddenly stop that rumination, and you won't have a method to stop it. So so those thoughts will still go round and round and round, but you've got to refrain from picking up, which was the thing that kind of gave you temporary respite from it in the first place, right?
And that's the paradox. When you first go into recovery, those thoughts that you've been shielding with drink and drugs come back to the fore, and they come back tenfold, which is why it's so tricky in early recovery to progress. Yeah, that can really hold you back. Mentally, it can keep you rooted back in the past. It really can. And when your emotions are highlighted in the early parts of recovery, it can be quite scary. It does, I can only say that it does settle down, and that is just a time issue, really. And as long as you're working on yourself during that time, recovery, and getting plenty of input and help, then shit FM starts to become much quieter. You can eventually switch it down. You can turn it down and eventually switch it to another channel. Yeah, much more relaxing channel. I want to look at the causes of why we ruminate.
Right.
And I think you've sort of touched on some of them already, but trying to solve a problem seems to come up a lot. So when you're trying to find new patterns and solutions to stuff so we can get closure, that can take up an awful lot of thinking time, can't it?
It can, but I think the really important thing to acknowledge here is that it's not just thinking about a problem. Quite often it's thinking about a problem that it is impossible to solve and doesn't need solving.
Okay,
so if you take that example I gave earlier, people will ruminate over a difficult conversation they had with someone, or over something that someone said to them or they said to someone else. That doesn't need a solution. It's happened. It's gone. Yeah, you're constantly looking for solutions that are either unnecessary or impossible to achieve.
Yeah, you are. You're looking for closure, which is going to be difficult to get to achieve. You're right.
You know how I feel about that word. I feel the same way about closure as I do about journey.
Do you? I didn't realise that.
If someone said, I'm on a journey towards closure, I think I'd punch them squarely in the face. I don't think that happens with things that happen in our lives. We are changed by things that happen. You know, the classic is when people want to achieve closure after a death. You know what that's like.
Yeah.
You don't get closure, do you?
No.
Your life just changes and the shape of everything shifts, but that's not closure. No, you've made me angry now.
Well, I'm sorry to have brought that to the table, and I can see that you was almost in a temper virtually. You were going to soapbox it at that point, weren't you?
Yeah.
Well, I've opened up a new wound. I can see that another word that sits neatly alongside journey, which is sure to get a reaction from you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well, we'll move on then in that case. I'll need to bring you down slowly.
Yeah, don't ruminate. You've really upset me now.
Yeah, I know. You'll be ruminating about it afterwards, won't you? One of the other causes that came up, which is slightly different to what you said there, because they were talking about life stresses, like work or relationship issues or money worries that can cause us to ruminate. But some of those are things we can do something about, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I think... Okay, I call that overthinking. When I think of rumination, I think of it as I'm going round and round and round in circles, and there's kind of no way out of this until I let go. Do you know
okay. The next point was trauma, which does fit into that category. Often you can't do anything about it. For example, if you're trying to work out why someone assaulted you in the street, for example, for no reason, or again, bereavement, the rumination that goes on at that point. When someone dies, you go through obviously the process of bereavement and the different emotions that brings up. But there's an awful lot. I think we've all gone through that. What could I have done? Is there something that how I could have changed it, or have I left something? Perhaps I haven't got closure with them.
That's not funny. You're right. With bereavement, you can ruminate on a bereavement because you can go round and round and that. There's nothing you can do about that.
No.
But actually, you mentioned trauma. I think that's right. I think rumination can often be a symptom of post-traumatic stress.
Yes.
So if you've experienced something traumatic and you can't get it out of your head, and it just keeps going round and round and round, that might be an indication that there's some post-traumatic stress there. But when you think about a stressful situation that you can't get out of your head, it's like everything that happens to you, you can remember somewhere in your brain files it away, puts it away, and then you can recall it if you want to. But what happens with something like post-traumatic stress is it never gets filed away. It's like that experience is on your desk all the time.
Yeah.
And whatever you do, there it is. And that sort of feeling about something can cause rumination because you're never able to avert your eyes from it. You can't ever get your attention away.
And that fits neatly into the next point that came up, which was generally about mental health disorders, which PTSD was one of them. And they say that rumination is very common with the ADHD, for example, or borderline personality disorder, which again comes up a lot in groups, people getting diagnosed with that, or bipolar. Yeah. And OCDs, I think that's very relevant.
Definitely. Any anxiety disorder, so it doesn't have to be just OCD, but any generalized anxiety disorder, any anxiety disorder will often have rumination as a part of it. And the other thing is depression.
And when you look at depression, the themes of rumination are typically about inadequacy. Or
how shit I am.
Of being worthless, how shit I am. Exactly right. And that's when Shit FM really does. It's on full volume, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's quite a good example of how damaging rumination can be, because one of the things that perpetuates depression is kind of disconnection. You're disconnecting from the world, disconnecting from yourself. You're berating yourself. And the longer you spend doing that through your ruminating behavior, the harder it is to overcome it. It's like you're constantly keeping yourself from the only thing that is going to bring you back to some sort of semblance of order, which is connection. Because you're telling yourself constantly, I'm not worthy of connection. I'm useless. I'm no good. Nobody cares about me. I'm not enough. And of course, the more you do that, the more you believe it, and the less able you are to reach out and connect with people.
So how do we deal with this? If you've got mental health issues, obviously, you need professional help, don't you, on that? Either with your GP, and you often end up with medication or therapy, which is obviously very important at this point. Otherwise, there's a sort of list of suggestions that may help to deal with these issues in the short term.
Yeah, I think with rumination, it depends. You've got to ask yourself how bad it is.
Yes.
So if you're at the kind of milder end of rumination, if it's a nuisance for you, you can't get thoughts out of your head, and it's kind of distracting you to the extent that, life is not quite as enjoyable as it ought to be, then some of the suggestions you're about to make, I'm sure, will be helpful. If it's got to the point where you can't function because of your rumination, you need to go and get help.
Yeah, absolutely right.
So,
yes,
as you say, visit your GP, find a therapist, because it's very, you're not going to be able to break yourself out of that very easily.
No, you're not. It's one of those things you definitely need outside help.
Yeah.
But the first one really was meditation.
Yeah, I think if you have a meditation practice, I can imagine that a meditation practice will help you to deal with rumination. In fact, I can think of people that I've worked with for whom that is true. I think if you don't have a meditation practice, establishing one in order to beat rumination is going to be extremely difficult.
Yes. Yeah, it's nice to have one in place first. You're right. You can hit the ground running with it then, can't you?
I think what the point here is, having a mindfulness practice or a meditation practice or whatever will help you in these situations.
Yes. Well, the second point that comes up, which we've discussed in other episodes as well, is about having a social media detox.
Oh, yeah. That's quite good, actually.
The highlight reel of other people's lives can make us feel worse about ourselves. And I think that taking a break from that is although we sort of get dragged into it from time to time, you make a positive choice about not getting involved in it for a while. It's surprising how you don't miss it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it depends probably what your rumination is about. But if your rumination is about something like how terrible your life is, and how unworthy you are, and how you haven't got any friends, then yeah, absolutely, staying away from the highlight reel of everybody else's life is a very good idea. So I think there's a kind of broader point there, perhaps, which is if you think about what it is that you're ruminating on, try and avoid the triggers.
Yes. That's right. The next point was disrupt your thoughts, and it came up quite often in various different bits I was reading about this. Was just say stop to yourself. Take control of that a bit, and or to then go out on get involved in some activities which we talked about in the past as well, like walking or exercise or writing. So disrupt the thoughts that are going through your head. I know during COVID, we were all encouraged to go for a walk, and it worked.
Yeah,
just getting outside. I remember finding that very therapeutic.
Yeah,
and I know we're big fans of that, but it's disrupting the thought process is vital, I think, here.
Yeah, I think there are 2 points you've made there. One is about the point about disrupting your thought is, I think it if you struggle with rumination, losing yourself in something is likely to improve that situation. So rumination tends to happen most frequently when you're not focused, when you haven't got anything else to focus on, because it opens up the space for you to focus on the thing you're ruminating on. So if you get involved in doing something else, whatever it is, having a chat with someone, going out and doing something, the likelihood is that rumination will reduce. But the other point you made is also important, which is the kind of just say no thing.
Yes.
I think that is allied to you being able to say to yourself that there isn't an answer required for this thing that you're thinking of. I think sometimes when you're ruminating, it's very difficult just to stop yourself. But what is more possible is for you to say to yourself, right, this thing that keeps going around in my head, it's okay. I know it's going around in my head, but actually I don't need to find a solution. You don't even need to tell yourself there isn't a solution. You can say, I don't need to do this. You could even say to yourself, I don't need to find a solution at the moment.
Yeah.
Why don't I have a couple of hours off?
Yeah,
I can come back to ruminating on it later. This is a kind of an example, I think, of where you need to be gentle with yourself, but to remind yourself that the thing that you're constantly looking for through your rumination is not necessary for you. And that can sometimes help too.
It is. The next point was something I know we've spoken about before, but it's about replacing your thoughts, reframing the situation. They mentioned using CBT at this point.
Yeah, CBT is often a technique used to help people with rumination because CBT is all about kind of changing your thinking.
But it's also about improving your overall well-being, isn't it? Try and improve, like sleep pattern, for example. We know, when that gets disrupted, as it does in active addiction, that will lead into rumination. So trying to get having a proper sleep health routine is obviously and alongside diet as well. We've talked about exercising and going for a walk, but doing that regularly and putting it into your routine, it does help. It helps lift your mental health overall and will help prevent rumination.
It does. One of the things that people do when they're struggling with anything, so rumination is no different from this, is that it's very easy for us to kind of go the wrong way on ourselves. So we start to become distressed about ourselves. We become impatient with ourselves, frustrated, and we tend to move towards more destructive habits. So we're not sleeping properly, not eating properly, or maybe we're forgetting to eat, or we're losing contact with friends and so on. I mean, you'll know that from addiction, that's what happens. Yeah. When actually what we need to do is to do the opposite. You kind of have to re-engage with self-care. So the more you can do what kind of almost feels counterintuitive in that moment, the more likely you are to help yourself in those situations.
I agree. Moving out your comfort zones on occasions will help with that, won't it? But there's a point here about working on self-esteem. Now, that's easier said than done, isn't it? And spend more time around positive people rather than those people that are going to tear you down. Because I think that's, for me, being in a peer support group with people that are being positive about stuff, so much, it does stop that rumination. And it is a connection with those positive people rather than connecting with those people sitting in a pub where everyone's going to be miserable and talking you down. Don't do that. You can move away from that. Yeah,
I think you're right. If you're struggling with self-esteem, and certainly if that's at the root of your rumination, just saying work on your self-esteem, that's not going to be enough.
No, it's not.
You're going to have to do something that's going to give you the support to do that. And it might be therapy. It might be going to peer support. It might just be spending more time with your friends.
Yes.
People who love you, people who care about you.
Yeah.
But you have to recognize that if low self-esteem is at the root of your rumination, that is what needs dealing with. It's no good saying, well, what I want to do is stop ruminating. Well, no, you've got to change the way you see yourself, because that's where your rumination is coming from. It's kind of changing the foundation of it. Yeah.
I remember you and I were talking many moons ago about the different types of self-esteem, and I don't think we've done that properly in a podcast, have we?
In fact, your self-esteem can only come from three places.
Yeah.
So your self-esteem is either intrinsic, that's the way you feel about yourself, regardless of anything else.
Yeah.
So when you look at yourself, you say, I'm a good person. And you don't need anyone else to remind you that. Or it's reflected. It comes from the way other people speak of you, what other people say about you, the way other people see you. Or it's comparative. It comes from how you feel when you compare yourself with other people and how you feel like you measure up. And if you ask people who are struggling with their self-esteem, how they would apportion their self-esteem across those three areas, the numbers obviously will differ. But the one thing that is a constant is that intrinsic self-esteem will be tiny. They'll say, 10% of my self-esteem is intrinsic, or none of it is intrinsic. It all comes from me comparing myself with others, or it comes from what other people think of me, which kind of goes back to codependency from last week. And it's important to understand if a small proportion of your self-esteem is coming from what you feel about yourself, by definition, your happiness is always in other people's hands. And that is never a safe place for it to be. So if you do that, if you make that little calculation now, if you say to yourself, well, how much of my self-esteem is intrinsic, how much of it is comparative, and how much of it is reflected? If the majority is not intrinsic, you've got an issue with self-esteem.
Well, we don't need to do an episode on it now. That's it. I was going to write that down and expand on that, but no, you've trampled on it.
Yeah, and it's hard, actually. It's quite hard to get the majority of your self-esteem from yourself. That's hard. Most people listening probably won't feel, the majority of my self-esteem is in my own hands. And so, what I'm saying is if it is lower than feels comfortable, that's something to work on.
But the last point was our old friend again, journaling.
Oh, yeah.
If you're ruminating.
Well, that's a good one, actually, because when you write your thoughts down, that in a way is interrupting them. And it's also you're kind of moving them from you're moving them from inside you to something else, something kind of physical. So yeah, it can be a useful technique.
It can.
Plus, you get bored with writing the same stuff over and over again. You think, I can't be bothered to think about this anymore.
And also, if it does give the opportunity, if you want to share that with other people as well, to get a different perspective, doesn't it? If you want to say, this is what I'm worrying about, this is the things I've got, what do you reckon?
I think that's a really good idea. I think, sometimes we feel ashamed of our rumination.
Yes. And
so, of course, you've got to pick the people that you share it with. But if you do ruminate on something, it is worth telling someone, because sometimes that will take the sting out of it a little bit.
It does. You're absolutely right. When you get other people's opinions, you start to work through it. You can be quite grateful for their input, can't you?
Yeah, and if you're ruminating on something and it's really worrying you, and you tell someone else and they're sort of dismissive of it, in some ways that can be quite helpful. Because you think, oh, well, you obviously think this is nothing.
Yeah.
Because you've been dismissive of it. Maybe I am, thinking about this too much, going around the houses too much. So, yeah, it is useful.
It is. Which leads us on to, I mentioned the word grateful there.
No, I missed it.
You did miss it. Yeah, I've sneaked it in again.
Yeah, you keep doing that. I think you're doing it deliberately to try and catch me out.
I do try and disguise it and make it as seamless as possible, but then I keep drawing attention to it.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. It's like having to explain the punchline of a joke to me.
It is, really, yeah. So that's sort of all I wanted to talk about as far as rumination and shit FM is concerned. As far as gratitudes are concerned,
yeah.
Mine's quite, so I'll go first just to get out of the way, really. So mine's quite straightforward, really. And it's probably something we're all grateful for, but it's getting lifts from people.
I'm pretty sure you've had that before.
I don't think I have. But if I haven't, I'm more grateful this week because I've had 2 lifts. One down to Dover to watch a band.
Yeah.
Jez Thistlethwaite, I know he's a regular listener. And another one, I had a lift yesterday to the hospital from my brother. I had to have one of my regular eye injections.
Nice.
So yeah, I've been very grateful to other people's input into my life.
It is nice. It is nice having. You're right. It's nice to have lifts.
Yeah.
Especially if you get a lift back as well.
Well, on both those occasions, I did. Yeah, being left down in Dover would have been a bit cold and windy down there.
Who did you go and see?
Stone Broken.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a rock band from the Midlands.
Did you do some headbanging?
I didn't do any headbanging. I've got nay hair these days, but it was.
You could have worn a wig. All right. Well, I've got some pot plants on my gratitude list.
Pot plants, okay.
I'm a relatively late convert to greenery in the house. I've always quite liked pottering, well, not always, but as I've got older, I've liked pottering around in the garden, growing stuff. But I didn't realise how joyous it was to have greenery in the house. So I'm becoming a little bit, well, I hesitate to use this word because I know you don't like it. I know you don't like it when people use this, but as you taunted me with closure, I'm becoming a bit addicted to the houseplant. I keep buying them.
Oh, you'll be saying in a moment. You'll be saying you're a plantaholic, and that will really wind me up.
Anyway, if you don't have any house plants in your house, get a house plant or 2, because having a little bit of greenery around the house is flipping lovely, and it's something to look after and nurture, which is also quite nice.
Well, we sort of recommend that in recovery. In the first year, because you've had so much difficulty looking after yourself. The first year, just have some plants to look after.
Yeah.
As a year 2, you start to perhaps go look at having a relationship or something like moving on. But
what, with a plant?
You can with a plant. Although I don't have I haven't got any pot plants in here. I must admit.
Have you? No, you should get a pot plant.
I should do, but I suppose it takes me back to I had childhood trauma with a cactus that sort of put me off.
What happens?
Well, I remember my mum used to like cactus or cacti.
Cacti, yeah.
Cacti, and I remember knocking one off of the shelf with my elbow. By my side, I turned around, and my reflex meant I turned around to grab it to stop it going down. It turned up, and I'd had a handful of spikes that I couldn't get out for ages. So I'm not a big fan.
I'm definitely buying you a cactus now.
I'll probably have a different view with them now, but yeah. It's saving all that time.
Cactus is the ideal plant because it's very low maintenance.
Yeah.
Any sort of succulent would be all right, wouldn't it?
Oh, I don't know. What do you mean?
That's what succulents are. They retain a lot of moisture and therefore don't need much watering.
Oh, I see. That's what they're called.
So even if you're not very good at looking after plants, you could look after a succulent.
Okay.
Try not to catch it if it's got a load of spikes on it.
I couldn't help it. Reflexes were too good. I was like Gordon Banks flying to one side. So I thought, I've got to stop it hitting the floor, not realising what I'd hit.
You'd knocked it off like B.A. Robertson.
Anyway.
Very good. Yeah.
Good. Days of the year.
Yeah.
There's 2 or 3 on here. International Tug of War Day. Today.
Yeah. International tug. Have you ever done tug of war?
Yeah, I do. I do remember as a kid doing it in the Scouts. We used to do it.
Yes, that's when I've done it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember being any good at it.
No. There's
Despite having significant heft in my younger years.
You could have been the bloke at the back.
I think I was the anchor.
The anchor. Yeah.
People kept calling me the anchor. Actually,
did they?
I think it was the anchor anyway.
It was. Yeah, it probably was, mate. Yeah. Don't ruminate about that too long. Yes, but that was an Olympic sport back in 1900. Not much of a sport, really, is it, to have in the Olympics? But
to be honest, there's a lot of Olympic sports I could, take or leave.
Yeah,
synchronized swimming, for example.
Yeah, you wonder, don't you? You do wonder.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at tug of war, it started about the earliest record of it was probably before this, really, but they reckon about 1000 BC. So it's been around a long time, tug of war.
Wow. Well, I suppose it doesn't need a lot, does it? All you need is a bit of rope.
You don't need that great equipment, do you? You don't have to go down Hubble and Freeman's and buy much stuff. In
fact, it's quite surprising that more kids don't get into tug of war considering they only need a.
That's what today is all about. To bring the profile of it back up again.
So it's today, is it?
It is today.
Right. So we should get out and do a bit of tug of war. Might do that later.
The second one, we've got a week this week starting today for the following week. You'll love this one because it's the Real Bread Week.
Oh yeah, I know. It's the real. Well, I'm a member of the Real Bread campaign.
Oh, are you? Which was started in 2010. The Real Bread campaign. I looked that up. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're making bread with no processing aids or additives, aren't you?
Yeah, and sourdough essentially.
Yes, that's the whole of this week. So when am I popping around to pick up some loaves? I haven't had any loaves from you for ages. I think.
No, that's true. You haven't.
Yeah,
no.
Yes, you've been terrible on that. But
all right, I'll make you a loaf this week.
Thanks, mate. As it is real, yes, I think you should. As it's real bread week.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to celebrate that. Yeah. I can report back on it next week. Then next week's
excellent.
Episode.
Good idea. Yeah.
Excellent. The last one was National Nest Box Week.
Oh.
So if you haven't got a nest box in your garden, get one up. Have you got one?
I haven't got a nest box, but because there's cats next door, and I always worry about the birds' safety with the.
You can have them up quite high, can't you?
You can, but what I try and have in my garden is as many bird and insect friendly plants as possible. Yeah. And I think it's a cotoneaster in the garden, which has very bright red berries at this time of year. And I know, because I've seen them on there, that the birds love the berries.
Do they?
So although I'm not providing them a home, I am giving them breakfast. So they can get beds somewhere else, come to mine for breakfast.
I remember talking to my brother about bird feeding and that, because he worked for a company that made all those fat balls and that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
There's all different flavours, which he said,
really?
He says purely for the human input there, because birds have no taste buds.
No.
So they'll eat,
eat anything.
It's the colour which attracts them in many ways, like the red berries.
Exactly.
But birds can't really taste stuff. So all these fat balls that have got curry flavour and this sort of thing to attract the birds in, it's of no use.
Yeah. Well, we're funny, aren't we? Because we want to humanise everything, don't we? Even though they're not humans.
Right, on this day in music then, 1980, first one here, Bon Scott died.
Remember that long ago?
Yeah. Wow. Lead singer of AC/DC, obviously, and his voice was really synonymous with their early recordings, wasn't it?
And he liked to drink.
Well, his coroner said that he'd drunk himself to death. Mm-hmm. Although he choked on his own vomit, which was a lot of rock stars in the 80s did exactly that.
It was the way to go, wasn't it, in the 80s?
It was to go. I think, looking back, if we hadn't been kicked out of the cartoon at Croydon and made it big, that's the way I'd have gone, wouldn't I?
Probably, yeah. You'd have been like John Bonham, wouldn't you?
I'd have joined the 27
I think he went the same way, didn't he?
I think he probably did. A lot of Hendrix did, I know, didn't he?
I think John Bonham went the same way. That's not a great way to go, is it?
A terrible
your own vomit.
No.
Yeah. Anyway.
2 years later, in 1982, Ozzy Osbourne was arrested for urinating on the cenotaph at the Alamo in Texas. Apparently he was wearing his wife Sharon's dress at the time because she had hidden all his clothes to stop him going out drinking. So he popped on one of her dresses and went out. And had a little slash up the cenotaph.
Yeah, he's a proper hellraiser, isn't he? Proper hellraiser. His hellraising days are over, though, aren't they?
They are. And the last one is about Johnny Cash again. Now, he's cropped up a lot, hasn't he?
Mm.
In 2004, his family stopped his song, The Ring of Fire, being used in an advert for a hemorrhoid relief product. Which he did perfectly, I'd imagine.
Yeah. I mean, he could have written it for that reason, couldn't he?
But apparently his family were a bit upset about it and they took out an injunction and had that stopped. But when I was looking at that, I thought, can you spell hemorrhoid? It's probably one of the most difficult words ever to spell.
I don't think I could. I know it's Haem or something.
Yeah.
Am I right so far?
Yes, you are.
You see, that's the thing. You get over those first four letters.
Yeah.
You think, that's the difficult bit. And then you really hit an even more difficult. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, O-R-R. And then another H, H-O-I-D.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
It is crazy, isn't it?
That's pointless putting all those letters in there. Well, they must have had some left over.
Must have done. It's probably got some sort of Latin root that has long since fallen into obscurity.
Well, I hope I never get them so that I don't have to write.
You don't have to spell it.
But actually, I suppose if you got hemorrhoids, you probably would learn how to spell it, couldn't you?
You would do, wouldn't you? Well, you call them Piles, don't you? Farmer Giles or Jeremy Kyles or whatever you want to call them. There's plenty of rhyming slang terms for them.
I think I'm happy not having hemorrhoids so that I don't have to learn how to spell them.
Sound painful, don't they? Yeah.
They do, yeah. All right.
Okay,
see you next time.
Will do.
Laters.
See you later. Bye.
Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.